Hey everybody, it's Talks from Crits Happen. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back. We're going to play Overboss. I'm going to walk you through the tutorial of this game. It is a brand new game that just recently came out on a little bit of everything. I am playing it on PC. I have played it on Steam Deck, and I know that there is also an iOS and Android app as well. Actually really affordable. I think the iOS app is only like $3.99, which is really good. So this is another one of our board games turned into a video game. Overboss is a board game that is a tile placement game. Really fun game. It is set in the world of Boss Monster, which if you're somehow not familiar with and you're a board gamer, that would really surprise me because it's been an extremely popular game for the last 10 years or so. But in Overboss, we are basically 16-bit digital boss monsters that are above our dungeons. So Boss Monster takes place in the dungeons, Overboss takes place up above in the overworld, and we're going to be trying to build out the best area above our dungeons. We're going to have tiles to place, monsters to place, mini bosses to place, lots of different things, which is really cool. I would like to let you know that there are a lot of different ways to play this game. You can play this game as just solo, trying to get the best high score. You can play it as a campaign. You can do multiplayer local or multiplayer online. And then there's a tutorial, which is what we're going to walk through. There have been some issues with multiplayer online. I've seen some comments about it on the Steam page. I know it just got launched, so I'm sure there might be some bugs to work out on that. But once that gets going, hopefully that will be really fun. My favorite way of playing the game has been the solo campaign. In the solo campaign, you can choose easy, medium, or hard, and when you choose something, you're going to get 6 different scenarios with 3 objectives in each scenario. And one of the really cool things is that you do not have to complete all 3 objectives in one playthrough. You could play through the scenario once, complete 2 of the 3, come back, play it again after having lost a heart, and then complete the 3rd one without even paying attention to the first 2, which is really cool. However, you only have a certain number of hearts based on how difficult you choose to play, easy, medium, or hard. But really fun way to play the game. This is actually my preferred way of playing the game, is this campaign, which is really fun. But let's walk through the tutorial. What is Overboss? How do you play? What actually happens? Let's dive in. Let's check it out. All right. King Croak, the big bad guy. Oh ho, another contender for the title of Overboss. Your objective is to craft the deadliest, most powerful overworld in all of Arcadia. The more powerful you craft, the more points you will get, because that's the way games work. Most points wins. All right, draft one of the tile and token pairs available in the market on the left. That's this column here. And place the terrain tile on an open square of your map, then place the monster or mini boss on the tile. All right. So there are 2 ways to play the game. You can play in a 3x4 grid or a 4x4 grid. The tutorial walks you through a 3x3 grid. So let's go ahead and do that. This wants us to pick this forest, so we will go ahead and pick this forest, and we will get this monster. Congratulations, you've placed your first forest, which gives you 1 point. Then you have a monster waiting to be placed from your lair. You have to place monsters and mini bosses when there is an open space on the tile. Notice the word have to. That is important. So in this case, even though the forest has a little forest icon on the left and the skeleton has the graveyard icon on the lower right, and they don't match, I can still place that monster into that area and we're all good. Next turn, choose another forest to make a combo. Okay, let's see how this works. We're going to choose this guy, put it here. You'll see the +2. It says you now have 2 forests. Having 2 forests grants you a total of 3 points. You can see in this bar on the bottom right, it'll tell you how they score, or how each tile type scores. This tells me I get 1, 3, 6, 10, or 15 points if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 or more forests. Now, each tile type scores differently, Some of them are looking at total quantity on your board. Some of them are looking at adjacency. Some of them are looking at contiguous adjacency to each other. They're all very unique, and there's multiple different tile types. Although every time you play, you're only going to play with 5, or 6, which is really cool because you can do a lot of different combinations and just have a ton of replayability. I love that this is all of a sudden like a bunch of fairies in a hot tub in the middle of the forest. That is just so funny and cool. All right, so now we have to place our monster, and this covers up our hot tub, but that's okay. Great, you have a matching monster, which gives you an additional point. So having a monster that matches the tile type it's placed on is worth more victory points, which is really good. Now it wants us to place this dungeon. So we're gonna go ahead and put this over here, and we get a monster in our lair for a forest. And it tells us that you've placed a dungeon. It grants you 1 point, plus an extra point for every different type of terrain that it borders. In this case, we're only bordering one type of terrain, which is the forest to the left of it. This does not count diagonal, it's only orthogonal. As a result, the forest near it gives you 1 extra point. Dungeon tiles cannot hold tokens though, so if you draft a monster or a mini-boss with a dungeon tile, it will stay in your lair at the bottom of your island, waiting for you to place it in an open tile as soon as you can. So this little guy is going to hang out and wait. Now it wants us to place another forest. It says, look, a portal. Portals allow you to reposition up to 2 monsters on your mini bosses on your map. This I'm not a fan of, and the reason why is the way that this tutorial walks you through this is actually not the way it works in the game 100%. I'll show you what I mean by that. So we're going to go ahead and place this tile here. Again, we get the bonus points because we now have 3 forest. We get 6 points for our forest in total. They're not 6 points each, it's just 6 points for having 3 forests. And remember, monsters and mini bosses must be placed on a tile if available, so we're going to match up the monster here, which is going to be great. Now, there's a thing called bands of monsters. So it says here, you know what makes a lot of points? Bands of monsters. Place 2, 3, or 4 identical monsters in a straight line, horizontal or vertical, to get a band of monsters and gain extra points. Use your portal to create a band of 2 forest monsters. So the first thing we do is click on our portal, click on this forest monster, and click on this skeleton monster. We flip them around, and now we have a band of 2 forest monsters next to each other. It says in-game you can use the question mark button to see how portals and crystals work. Now, this is one of the things that I don't really like from the tutorial. The first thing is this. You do not have to have monsters matching their terrain type to get points for them being in a band. In other words, if that skeleton had stayed here, and instead of having a forest monster above him, I put another skeleton monster up here, I have 2 forest tiles adjacent to each other that do not have matching monsters, but the 2 monsters in them are the same type, matching each other, therefore they create a band. And it didn't really explain that very well in the tutorial, but it is something that you can learn. The other thing is that you do not have to swap the position of 2 monsters when you play a portal. So I could click a portal, click monster A, and move them to tile A1, and then I could click monster B and move that one to B1 as well. So I don't have to swap them, I can move them. It just allows me to move up to 2 monsters. The way the tutorial describes it, it sounds as though you can only swap, but you can move them, and you'll see that as we go along. If you need more explanations about the tiles, hover over the appropriate icon. Remember, build combos with different tiles, use the right matchmaking monsters, and place bands of them in a straight line. Now draft and place your tiles and tokens wisely until the map is complete, and aim for the highest score possible. So let's take a look at this. So we talked about dungeons earlier. This is a really nice part of the tutorial. And when you're playing the game, you can hover over a type of tile in the bottom of the screen here. It will tell you how it scores, and it will highlight the tiles on your map so you can see them really, really easy. I can do this as well with the forests. It highlights them and shows me how I'm doing on those. So let's talk a little bit about the other tiles that are here. On here, we have 2 forests and we have 2 caves. How do the caves work? Well, if we hover over it, it will tell us that the caves are worth a base value of 1 point each, plus 2 points if they're bordering mountains. What does that mean? Well, our lair has adjacency to water and adjacency to mountains, and the mountains on the border here, where this is our lair entrance and this is the border here, these mountains count as well. So for example, a really good choice right now could be to either take this forest and get more forests and another portal. You don't have to use the portals immediately. Or it could be to actually take this cave, put it here adjacent to this mountain, and have another terrain type matching our dungeon. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to end up putting this skeleton into this here, into the cave, so it doesn't match, but I think that's okay. It's going to get us some good points. The tutorial, the last time I played the tutorial, I think I got 48 or 49 points if I remember right, so we'll see how this goes through. It's kind of linear, it's kind of not. Okay, so this is a new one. This is a camp. If we hover over here, this will tell us that your score based on how many unique camps that are on your map. You can see the little flowing flag here, the orange flag. Each flag type is different, and it visually looks different, and it's colored different. So if we have 1, 2, 3, or 4 or more different flags, we will get 1, 4, 9, and 16. So these are like even better than the potential forest. We have to have less of them to score more points. And this is a matching monster, which is really cool. This one right here actually is one of the mini bosses that was mentioned earlier in the tutorial. Mini bosses don't match a tile type, but they give you 2 points instead of 1 point, so they're a little bit better. I do like the idea of the camp, and I like the idea of the camp because it's now an extra additional tile type adjacent to our dungeon. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll go ahead and add this guy right here. That's all good. Gives us a lot more points. You'll notice that at the end of each round, the topmost tile will disappear. So you cycle through 2 tile and token pairs every time you do that. Now we have swamps. In the tutorial, swamps are one of my favorites. How do the swamps work? Your base value is 1 point each. You get 1 point if it borders water, plus an additional 1 point if it borders at least one other swamp. So these 2 spots right here would be really, really good for swamps. I like the idea of taking this swamp with this cave monster and hopefully maybe swapping out to get a matching here. I also like the idea of getting this portal though, which I think could be really good. So I think I'm actually going to go with this since it's the topmost tile. That way it doesn't disappear. We keep the portal, and then that will move up. Now, you'll notice it says end of turn down here. It hasn't said that before. If we don't want to use the portal, we have to manually end our turn. If we wanted to use the portal, we could go through and do that. You might say, well, Tox, why would you use the portal right now? That's a great question. Thank you for engaging in the demo. We might want to use the portal because we might want to actually move one of the skeletons down here and create a war band there, but we don't want to do that yet. All right. Camps. Let's go ahead and place this up here, and then we're going to get a crystal. Now, crystals will give us bonuses depending on the type of tiles you have on your map. You currently have a forest crystal. It gives you 1 point for every forest on your map. That's really good because that crystal gives us 4 points. And again, really, really great things here by the developer. When you hover over the crystal, it shows you how many of those locations you have on your map and highlights them and raises them up. Small little details like that really, really make me happy. Again, I could potentially use my portal, but I don't think I want to right now, so we'll go ahead and end our turn. Let's see what we come up with here. This is a crystal for swamps, but we don't have any swamps. But we do have graveyards now. Graveyards, this is probably the most complex tile in the tutorial. Graveyards give us a base value between 1 and 3 each. We get +2 or +5 points depending on how many graveyards are on our map. That could be really good, but we don't have a lot of room for graveyards, but we do have a lot of skeletons in our overworld. I think the graveyard might be good to put down here because I really don't want to put a swamp down here. So I think this actually might be pretty good. Let's go ahead and put the graveyard down here. That maximizes the points that our dungeon can get. And let's go ahead and... This is a tough decision, actually. We might end up using the portal to move the skeleton down to create a warband. So let's go ahead and put the swamp monster up here. Swamp monster, one of my new favorite terms. All right, what do we got? Come on, give us something good. Okay, actually that's really good because we can put that forest monster here and have a 3-band vertically and put a swamp over here. I love everything about that. Let's go ahead and do that. So this swamp ends up next to water, which is good. And then we'll go ahead and put this right here. That creates a 3-point band, which is really, really nice. And you'll notice when I hover over one monster, it highlights all of them in the band, which is really, really cool as well. There's also a new camp to give me more points for the camp. That's really good too. Oh, and it wants me to take that? Oh, it's going to force me to take this. Okay, so we'll force that. We'll put it there and get more bonus points, which is good. The button, this button appears. Oh yeah, this is going to walk me through what we just said before. That when you can play something, but you don't have to. In this situation, you can use the portal, but if you want to save it for later, you can click on this button. Okay, no worries. We don't have to worry about that at all. But that's going to maximize. All the little animations are just really darn cute as well, which I really like. So we're going to end up with an extra portal here. Not that big of a deal, but that's okay. Oh, man, I was hoping to get a different, get a skeleton monster. Okay, it's last round of the game. Before choosing your last tile, I have to tell you something. Like a good player, he waits until the end of the game to tell you that one thing where he could win. We have only seen the basic tiles and tokens here. In the real game, there are other tiles, but also bosses and command cards. If you need more explanations during the game, you can click on the question mark button or on the buttons on the bottom left. Next, choose your last tile wisely. Yeah, you can click up here and see it shows you how everything scores: mini bosses, crystals, portals, all those fun things. Portals are not worth anything at the end of the game if you haven't used them, so in this case, you might or might not end up using all of ours. The matching monsters, it tells you what you get point-wise for band of monsters and matching monsters. So for example, I have 3 monsters in this forest band, so it's a 3 size, which gives me a 5-point bonus. The more you get, the better that's going to be. The command cards are really kind of cool because they are going to work based on a certain like configuration of tiles or quantity of tiles that's not in the tutorial, but it's in the full game, and just adds to more of the replayability. What do we want to do? Let's think about this for a second here. The camp is easily the best choice. I think what we're going to do here is we're actually going to use our portal, and we're going to move this monster down here to match up. We're then going to move this monster over. Oh, yeah, I don't want to do that yet. Okay, we're going to wait on that. Move this monster over here to the swamp to get an extra point for that. Then we're going to draft this because it's a blue flag, which will give us 3 camps. We'll put this on the tile we just moved the monster off of. And we score 51 points. Not bad. Okay. You're a mini boss. It will give you different ratings based on how well you do. You are going to score less points on a 3x4 than a 4x4. I think the highest I've scored on 4x4 right now is 96 or 95. But really, really quick, easy tutorial to teach you the game. Just to show everybody what you can see here. So I'm going to do like a solo high score. You can choose 3x4 or 4x4 tiles. You can randomize your tile types, or you can specifically select tiles that you want, which is really cool. And it shows you how they score, which is really nice. You can choose to play with bosses and or command cards, turning on or off anything you want to do here. If I wanted to do bosses, you can see some of the bosses here. These are all really, really cool. Kill is one of my favorite ones. So is Kazana. They all have an active power, which you will activate and then trigger and do something with. In this case, Kazana says discard and then restock all the terrain tiles, but the tokens don't get replaced. So you have that pairing of token and tile, and then the tiles will go away, the token will stay, and you get all new ones. And then her passive power says score +3 for each separate group of exactly 3 tiles of the same terrain type. These monsters give you so many different ways to play the game and so many different goals to go after while you're playing the game, trying to maximize your scores. Absolutely just love it. And again, you can pick random and do whatever you want to do that way if you want to do that as well. Really, really cool options with that. Again, my personal favorite way to play has been this campaign difficulty. It's just really, really cool how it works out. You're able to In this case, play Kazana. That's the specific boss you'd be playing. Each campaign is going to be different. Each set of tiles is going to be different. Just really adds to a lot of the gameplay and a lot of the variability and replayability. So that's Overboss. Let us know what you think. Have you played this game in real life? Do you play it on your tables? Are you looking forward to playing it on the computer or on your phone or on your devices? I'm really looking forward to actually picking up the iOS one. I'm probably going to do that this weekend, be able to play that, but would love to hear your thoughts. Overboss is one of my personal favorite board games. I really do enjoy playing it. Boss Monster is even higher than that. If you've never played the original game Boss Monster, highly, highly recommend to check that out. Great, great little card game, and just love the world. If you grew up like me in the age of video games, of 8-bit, 16-bit kind of video games, it's really going to strike a chord with you, and you're really going to enjoy it. You can check out more on Steam. You can also go check out Brotherwise Games, which is the publisher of the board games. They have information on their socials and on their website as well. But would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. If you got questions, we'll be happy to jump back into the conversations we can. Until we see you next time, thanks so much for watching. Keep rolling those dice, and we hope they're all crits.